Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Friday, the 25th day of April, 2025, Friday of the octave of Easter, Easter Friday. It is the sixth day of the Easter season. It's also 8 months till Christmas. so April the 25th. So 8 months until Christmas. So again, combining the two, resurrection and expectation of Christmas down the way a little bit. So still quiet here on the campus of St. Francis. Our last Friday of the break time after Easter that our schools have observed, so it'll get busy again on Monday. But our readings for this sixth day of the octave, tomorrow will be the 7th, and then the octave concludes on the second Sunday of Easter with the 8th day of Easter itself. Again, continuing, moving through these 50 days. But we have Acts of the Apostles continuing again, the continued impact of Peter and John healing this paralyzed man, this man who was crippled or whatever it was, in the temple itself. So the guards come, some of the members of the Sanhedrin come, and they basically, take them away because they're causing a disturbance, and they don't like the talk of this Jesus rising from the dead and everything else like it that they keep going on and on about. So this is where, in the whole confluence, of things, again, the high priesthood believes that he has gotten rid of this busybody and this annoyance or whatever it was that they considered Jesus to be. And now these apostles and followers of Jesus or whatever it is are now proclaiming that he is raised and showing fantastic deeds, that come from the power of his resurrection. And so they cannot really have this. And so they need to do something about this. And so, they are imprisoned overnight, and again, because of what the people are experiencing, it was 3,000 with Peter's initial speech after Pentecost, and now here it was 5,000. Exaggerated numbers, maybe, perhaps it is, but the idea is these people have come to faith because of what they are seeing. It is important, again, to realize too that they're coming to faith through a special effect. Are they coming to faith through a change in heart? That remains to be seen, and how that continues to grow, because it's what Jesus' own experience was. He could do 1,000 special effects and people could come to faith because of that, but were their hearts actually changed, within that coming to faith, and what did it mean to come to faith in the first place? So the Sanhedrin has a session, and again, the names of Annas and Caiaphas appear again in this narrative about this session to examine Peter and John and what they're doing. And it says Peter, filled with the Holy Spirit, just gets up and says, again, this Jesus again whom you crucified. They keep emphasizing this again, this Jesus whom you put to death. And again, this is where it gets a little bit dicey, because then the whole idea of blaming, Judaism for Jesus's death is not right. It's not fair. There was a whole bunch of confluence of things that happened. But the reality is that you tried to get rid of him, you who were the leaders, and he has been raised because of that. And again, you're upset because of a good deed that was done to somebody who could not walk. And it's like, why are you not seeing, the fullness of this, and then he goes into, again, another statement that becomes problematic in history for us, that it's only through Jesus's name that people can be saved. There's no salvation outside of that, and things like that. And we begin to extend it to there's no salvation outside the church. And so anybody who's not Catholic is not being saved and they're going to hell or whatever it is. And that's not really true. That isn't good and isn't right, at all. So we have to take in Peter's statement for what it is, at that moment, which was basically to tell, Jewish authorities. And again, the high priestly class, as it says, and this high priestly class is going to cease to exist once the Romans destroyed Jerusalem, in 70 AD and again in 130 AD, because of the uprisings against Rome that the Jewish people in Jerusalem were fomenting. And so again, it is this class of people who will cease to exist soon, but trying to hold on to what power they have. But holding on to that power, they're not seeing where God is truly active, and the God that they supposedly represent, again, they are failing because they are not realizing where this God is taking them, where this God is challenging them. Again, the whole idea of where this conclave, will take the cardinals of the church and asking them to listen, to what the church needs at this time, and if they will. In the Gospel from John today, again, it's always very interesting where, the apostles, again, they've had these revelations of Jesus, and they're basically just going about their lives as they've always gone about. And Peter says, I'm going fishing. And he jumps into a boat and they go fishing and things like that. And they see Jesus on the shore, but they don't recognize him, and basically, after Jesus says, throw the nets on this side and whatever it is, and they do, and they catch fish, and they recognize then that it is Jesus. And Peter all of a sudden, oh my gosh, and jumps into the water and runs to Jesus and things like that. And Jesus serves them breakfast. Again, with fish and then with bread, breaking it, serving it to them in the same way that he gave bread and wine at the Last Supper. Again, this whole Jesus who takes care of these guys. And again, as it says, nobody needs to say, who are you? Nobody needs to say, what are you doing here? Whatever it is, they knew it was Jesus. And they knew it was their friend because of what it was that how he spoke to them and how he acted with them and what he did for them. These are the kinds of things, again, that bring faith brought through action, faith brought through recognition, faith brought through reuniting, reestablishing relationship. That's what's important to faith, and that's how faith grows. And these apostles, again, have a third revelation, a third experience of Christ, a third experience of resurrection, because, again, the relationship that Jesus has with them continues to grow. A blessed Easter season, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.